Hi, I'm Mukul Singh, and in this video, I'll be demonstrating Cornet, a system for learning formatting rules in spreadsheets. Let's start with understanding what conditional formatting means. Conditional formatting, abbreviated as CF, is a popular feature in spreadsheet environments that allow users to format cells based on data-dependent conditions. The example here shows two CF rules added on a temperature information table. The first rule formats cells less than 30 in green, while the second one formats values greater than 50 in red. Conditional formatting is a powerful feature improving the presentation and visualization of data in spreadsheet. Despite being a powerful feature, there are challenges associated with authoring CF rules. Many users are unaware of this feature and end up manually formatting their spreadsheets. Even for users who know about CF, basic rule authoring often requires a deep understanding of the syntax and logic behind the formula language. The video on this slide shows the steps needed to add a simple formatting rule that formats IDs starting with RW and not ending with T. We see that the user has to navigate multiple menus and enter a complicated formula to achieve this formatting task. The formula is also shown at the bottom of the slide. Further complicating things is the limitations in the UI, which lack rule validation, allowing the user to even add incorrect rules and leave the users wondering what went wrong in the rule they just added. When users cannot add their desired CF rules themselves, they reach out on help forums about their struggles. Conditional formatting is one of the most popular tags on the Microsoft Tech community for Excel, which has over 10,000 posts about conditional formatting in 2022 alone. This further reinforces users' struggle with conditional formatting rules. Let's start with a simple example. The user wants to format the service column such that cells equal to deliver needs to be colored yellow. The user simply colors the fourth cell in the first column and then moves to the Smart Format tab and selects Detect Formatting. He can see the drop-down list of available rules, out of which he selects the first rule which is relevant to his use case. We see that Cornet was able to learn the correct rule with just one example. Now moving to a more difficult and more complicated scenario. Here the user wants to format the work orders column such that cells starting with GW but not ending with -T are the ones that are formatted. The user simply colors one cell and he can see that the desired rule is available in the Detect Formatting tab. The user can now also investigate the rule that was just added in the Excel Manage Rules Conditional Formatting tab. And we see that the correct rule has been added to the Excel CF rules list. Investigating this rule, we see that this is the rule that the user would have had to write if he would manually add this rule. But with Cornet, he was able to do this with just one example. Now let's see this scenario in detail. The user colored the fourth cell and Cornet inferred that the first three cells are soft negative examples. These were then used to semi-supervise cluster and get an output prediction for the column. These output predictions were then used to learn a set of rules that were ranked, and finally the top three rules were shown to the user. Out of these, the user then selected the first rule which was relevant to his use case, selecting cells that start with GW but that do not end with T. Going back to the demonstration, it might seem that selecting one cell or two cells and then going to the Smart Format tab is actually pretty tedious. To resolve that, we have an automatic format button. So here the user simply colors the cell, and these formats need not just be cell color, they can be bold, italics, like in this example the user bolds the two cells and also colors them. Then the user simply clicks Learn for selection and the top rank rule is automatically applied. The motivation behind having this is that this is linked to a keyboard shortcut. In our case, it is linked to Ctrl-Shift-O, and that will automatically format the user without breaking his workflow. Now coming to the scenario where the user might not know that this exists or even conditional formatting rules exist. In this case, the user is just normally editing his worksheet. He sees a value that he thinks is incorrect, he fixes it, and he just continues editing normally. Now we see that Cornet actually raises a pop-up that gives him a suggestion of a conditional formatting rule. The user now accepts the rule and we see that the rule has been applied. Now, for the user, the problem is solved, but even if he wants to investigate this rule, this is indeed added in the list of his CF rules. So all future values in this column will also be formatted, saving the user the time to manually format these and also improving the discoverability of this feature. Now we'll highlight a bit about how Cornet works. So we first start with the column that the user has partially formatted. In this case, one cell has been formatted by the user. Next, Cornet generates a bunch of predicates based on these cells that are used to learn a semi-supervised clustering over the column. This clustering serves as intermediate outputs that a tree-based rule enumeration then learns to cover. Out of the rules learned by the enumerator, we then rank them using a neural ranker based on relevance, the rule, and the table inputs. We then learn the best conditional formatting rule, and that is applied to the table, which in this case results in the formatting that the user wanted. Giving further inputs will further improve the performance of Cornet.